Scores of people made redundant at Island Luck as the government's gaming bill takes effect. The BEC union preparing for a war with Chairman Leslie Miller. Government to spend $150 million to overhaul the aviation industry. Plus, a businessman appears in court on fraud charges. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, now that the government's new Gaming Act took effect today, web shops found themselves making the necessary adjustments to ensure they are operating within the law. One of the adjustments Island Luck had to make, letting go of 47 of its staff members that operate the company's portable gaming devices. Kyle Joaquin reports.
It was not an easy thing to do. They've been with us since 2009. They've been a major portion of the success of Island Luck in building its revenues and building its distribution channels. And you know, I'm saddened to have to do that because my vision for the industry was more from a progressive point of view, and this is kind of a setback for the most part, but you know, it's the law.
That's Island Luck CEO Sebas Bastian telling NB12 that carrying out layoffs was not something he wanted to do when the industry is actually supposed to be hiring and expanding. With the government's new Gaming Act now in effect, Bastian says there are a lot of changes, and for those who sell numbers from handheld devices, they're not covered in the revised Gaming Act.
Not knowing when the effective date was going to be, you know, we just found out about the effective date late last week, so as soon as we heard, you know, we let them know. We didn't want to scare them unnecessarily beforehand, but effective date is here, and you know, the law is the law.
Now, in addition to coming up to date with taxes by next April or May, web shops will be required to pay certain fees, like their annual monitoring fees.
The business license on the gross racked up to be a very high figure, so this sweetheart deal that everybody is accusing us of having with the government or whatever, I don't feel like a sweetheart because Island Luck has a pretty penny to pay if it wants to proceed with the RFP and regularization licensing process, and it's definitely a situation that's in the best interest of the country versus the operators, because a lot of our fees are not consistent with international best practices and stuff like that. However, you have to pay to play.
At the moment, Bastian says he doesn't foresee winnings being decreased. Currently, if a player catches a 3-ball straight for $1, they would win $700. And if they catch a 4-ball straight for $1, they'd win $4,500. Bastian says while he hasn't gotten the exact figure on what it will take to meet all the government's requirements, he knows it will be in the millions. But he adds that he has no problem giving the government what's due.
To give the government's money. I am always a proponent of taxes, actually. I think that once taxes go to the greater good of the country, I have no problem paying my fair share of taxes. So, you know, whatever the number is, whether it's $1 or whether it's $10, Island Luck will pay its fair share.
Now in all, Bastian says he still gets the chills when he thinks of today and the industry moving from the back trunk to the boardroom.
We took on a personal mandate to use this regulation of the web shop industry to basically be the springboard of the paradigm shift in the Bahamas and for years and years to come. So that is our personal commitment to the Bahamian people, and we want to encourage, you know, the government to extend more and more and more opportunities to Bahamians, because that's the only way we can truly, you know, own our Bahamas back.
Tourism Minister Obi Wilchcombe said the businesses that meet the requirements of the government's request for proposals will be regulated in April or May 2015. He called that time frame an amnesty period. Wilchcombe has already stated that the government would be issuing no more than 8 licenses. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Tensions are rising between the Bahamas Electrical Workers Union and the Bahamas Electricity Corporation's chairman, Leslie Miller, over a new industrial agreement. BEWU President Paul Maynard said if the matter is not addressed by tomorrow, workers will hold a demonstration. Maynard says at times, Miller speaks to him and other employees as if they are children. He said Miller needs to be reminded it's because of the unions that his government is in power.
You know, he don't realize that, listen, it's because of the unions that he in Parliament now. It's because of the unions. The unions switched their allegiance from one party to the next and decided, you know what, Christie had a better message. So, okay, we remember Christie. His boss. Don't talk down to me and don't look down at me. See, I'm tired of him treating me like I was his child. I'm not. And I'm tired of him being disrespectful to this office. I'm tired of him being disrespectful to our employees. He's very disrespectful to them.
Miller has reportedly scheduled a meeting for tomorrow with their Human Resources and Labor Relations Subcommittee. However, Maynard said he has no plans to attend. Maynard claims Miller was invited to a meeting with the Deputy Prime Minister to deal with the contract, but walked out and said it was foolishness. However, Miller claims that's not so.
No such meeting ever took place with Leslie Miller, but could never happen that I would walk out of a meeting with the cabinet minister, especially my minister. Please, give me a break.
As for reports there may be a Black Christmas, Maynard says the union is a responsible one. He also defended himself over reports of a leaked voicemail message of Miller talking to a BEC employee.
Buddy of mine, who I know, he decided, Miller, you send me meat and chicken, and I can send you fish and conch. All right? So I go down to Bahamas Food Services. I spent $200-300 with the fish and with the meat and the fish that I sent to him. And all of a sudden, he turned his phone off. So I was just telling him to be a man. I live up to my part of the bargain, you live up to yours. But that's a personal conversation. Has nothing to do with you all and nobody else. Now, and in fact, it's against the law. I hope you all realize that. That you could go and take someone's conversation that they leave and air it. That's against the law. That's against all rules. So there's nothing to discuss it. That has nothing to do with no staff, please. Nothing to do with BC.
Prime Minister Perry Christie revealing details of his administration's plan to overhaul the aviation industry at a cost of around $150 million. The nation's leader says while it's a significant amount of money being spent, it's long overdue. Jasmine Brown has more in this report.
Today, the Prime Minister revealed just how much the government plans on spending to revamp the aviation industry, saying the price tag is somewhere around the $150 million mark. The Prime Minister made the comments while touring the new radome site at Lynden Pinling International Airport today. Prime Minister Christie said it's clear that many sectors of the industry are in need of updating. An immense task, he says, can only be completed with the necessary funding.
I can tell you, though, with respect to aviation, this is a small part of her work because her work encompasses an island nation. And the last time I checked, she needed about $150 million to address myriad issues that are facing the minister responsible for aviation in terms of improving airports, in terms of adding to the strategic perspective of airports, adding to the equipment, adding manpower. A lot of work has to be done.
According to the Prime Minister, much of the overhauling will begin next year.
You will find that going into next year, we will unfold a plan that will embrace at least 4 or 5 airports in terms of the immediate improvements and significant improvements to them.
Transport and Aviation Minister Glenys Hannah Martin says the initial overhauling will involve management changes, with 3 airports set to receive new management in 2015. She adds that structural changes will follow, particularly in the Family Islands, where millions will be spent on airport construction.
As we speak, we have 2 new persons who are being trained at LPIA by NAD, who will take over management of 2 of our major airports, and there's a 3rd person coming in. So we're now moving to 21st century leadership at our airports within the islands to bring the appropriate aviation leadership. there's some things happening, and this is a very, very dynamic time in the aviation sector.
The push for the overhaul comes as tourist arrivals are on the rise in the Family Islands. According to Ministry of Tourism visitor statistics, foreign air and sea arrivals to the Family Islands grew 10% between January and July 2014, compared to the same time period last year. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
A local businessman facing fraud charges this morning. Our Simone Davis was in court and filed this report.
Businessman Warren Wilson was arraigned in court number 10 this morning on 2 counts of conspiracy to fraud under false pretenses, which allegedly occurred between the 21st of March and the 27th of October 2014. He was charged with 1 count of fraud after allegedly receiving cash in the amount of $22,000 from Philippa Bethel Landfill under false pretenses. He was charged again with conspiracy to fraud after allegedly receiving cash and goods in the amount of $43,000 from Stephen Capron under false pretenses as well. Magistrate Wilhelmina Archer told Wilson to briefly consult with his lawyer and decide whether he wanted to make a plea before the Magistrates Court or the Supreme Court. After consulting with his lawyer, Wilson decided to plead before the Magistrates Court, where he pleaded not guilty to all charges. There were no objections to Wilson being granted bail, and he was ordered to pay bail in the amount of $30,000.
Wilson was also instructed to check in at the Elizabeth Estates Police Station twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays before 7 p.m. The case is adjourned until the 23rd of February 2015. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.